Hi there, my name's Jack Taylor and welcome to my first online guitar lesson. In this guitar lesson we're going to be talking about the parts of the guitar, the string names and how you can begin to fret your first notes on the guitar. To begin with, the guitar, you can actually compare it to your body. Okay, so obviously, hopefully you've got a head, a neck and a body, and if you haven't got any of those things you should probably go see a doctor, but for now let's just see how we can compare it to the guitar. So if I turn my guitar this way so you can see the comparison here, we have the head, obviously you have your head as well, we have the neck, which is this long part of the guitar there, and then we have the body too. So on an acoustic guitar you have a large body like this. This is all called the body of the guitar. If we continue from the headstock here, right, we go down and we've got our tuning pegs. So these are used to tune the guitar. So if you want to get your guitar in tune so you can sound great, you want to learn how to get these tuning pegs in the right places so your guitar's in tune. We'll probably cover that at another lesson at some point. Okay, right, if we go down, this little part of the guitar here is called the nut. Some guitars it's made out of bone, other guitars it's made out of plastic, some guitars even have it made out of graphite. Okay, there's loads of different materials which you can use to make the nut, and the nut's job is essentially to just keep the guitar strings in place. As we move down the guitar we have our fingerboard. This is where our fingers go to play the guitar, so whether you're playing chords like this or you're playing more lead lines, like that, this is where you're going to put your fingers. Okay. Once you know that this is the fingerboard, the next part of the guitar we need to learn is the frets. Now this gets confusing for some people. So the actual mechanical term, if we're being really kind of dry about it, the frets are actually these metal parts here. Okay. These metal parts, these metal wires which go across the guitar. Now, when we're talking about the guitar from a practical point of view, when we're talking about the frets, we're actually referring more to the spaces in between. Now this is super important to know, because if you think about it, if you try and play on the fret on your guitar, you get this sound, which doesn't sound very good. It sounds a bit dull, it's a bit blunt. When we talk about frets, we actually need to place our finger in the middle of the fret, or just behind the fret, whatever's comfortable for you. And you'll get a much clearer sound doing that rather than putting your finger on the fret. Okay, right, as we go up the guitar we have the sound hole. On acoustic guitars it's usually a circle which looks like this, and when I play a chord, that circle and the hole in the guitar is making the sound. Right, as we go down we have our bridge here. This is where the strings are held in place. Without this our strings would be falling all over the place, and we don't want that when we're playing guitar. And finally we actually have our strings. So just to recap all of those points, we've got headstock, tuning pegs, nut, fingerboard, frets, body, sound hole, bridge and the strings. Okay, so that should cover it for all of the parts of the guitar. Right now, if you're a complete beginner, don't worry too much about anything else. They're the main bits which you need to know. So when we talk about the string names, you can think about them in two different ways. Some people refer to them in numbers. So some people will call the string which is closest to the floor string 1, string 2, string 3, string 4, string 5 and string 6. The way that I like to teach it is I like to actually refer to the note names. Okay, so the string note names are as follows. If we go from the lowest string, the one that's closest to your face, we've got the E string, A string, D, G, B and E. Okay, that can be a lot to remember, so some people like to use a rhyme. One of the rhymes that I like to teach to my students goes like this. It goes: elephants and donkeys grow big ears. One which kids like is this one: Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. And these little rhymes are simply a way of helping you to remember the string names. It can be a bit weird to try and remember E, A, D, G, B, E, E, A, D, G, B, E. It can be really strange. So those rhymes, like they really help you just to remember what the string names are. So just to recap, the one we'll use today is elephants and donkeys grow big is. Okay, so the way you can practice this at home, if you've got your guitar, you can literally do this, and this is just a really good way of cementing those names into your brain. So what I like to do with students is I just get them to play the first string and literally say the word out loud, elephant. So we've got elephants, and then you go to the next one, say and donkeys grow big is. So all we're doing is we're saying the names of the strings, and as we're saying them, we're playing them. And this reinforces the name of the string along with your mind, so you can actually begin to learn what these are. So I'll do that one more time with you so you can maybe follow along with me. I'll do it nice and slowly. Elephants and donkeys grow big is. One more time for good luck. Elephants and donkeys grow big is. Okay, so these are actually our note names for the strings, and this little rhyme will help us to learn what the note names are. Okay, and the way that we work that out is we literally just take the first letter of that of the rhyme which we've used. So elephants, the first letter of that is E, so that means that this string is the note E. Okay, now the next one is and. That means that the first letter in the word and is A, so this is our A string. Next one is donkeys. First letter in the word donkeys is D, so that's our D string. Next one's grow. First letter in the word grow is G, so that's our G string. Next one's big. First letter in the word big is B, so that's our B string. And the last one is E, because we've got ears. Okay. Now, you might have noticed that there are two E strings. We have elephants and ears. And it can be difficult to distinguish the difference between these two. So the easiest way to do that is we call this one here the low E string, because that has a low sound, and we call this one here the high E string, because that has a high sound. Now, some people get confused with this, right? They think, why would I call this one the low E string when it's up in height? It's higher than this one down here. Surely it would make sense to call this one the high E string. Now, the reason we call this one the low E string is because it sounds low. It's got quite a deep sound, and then the high E string sounds much higher in pitch. Even if you're completely new to the guitar, hopefully you can see that this one has a much lower sound than this one. Okay, so just to recap that, if you're learning these strings for the first time, the easiest way to remember this is to go elephants and donkeys grow big is, or Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. And the way to practice that is to say that rhyme out loud whilst you play those strings. Once you've got that down, then look at naming the strings. So you've got low E, A string, D string, G string, B string, and the high E string. And it's important you get used to where those strings are, because they're going to become super important with the more that you learn on the guitar. Right, when you're fretting notes on the guitar, it can be super difficult for a lot of people. And often a lot of people will get really frustrated when they're playing these notes here on the guitar. And this can be super, super difficult. So hopefully I'm going to show you a few tips which will make this a lot easier for you. So the first thing to do is actually just to pop your guitar down like this, right? And then take your left hand or your right hand if you're playing guitar, whichever way, and just do this. Just get your thumb in your first finger and start to squeeze them together. A good analogy that I like to use is when I was younger, I used to often get like clothes pegs stuck on my fingers, you know, like the clothes pegs you put on a washing line or something like that. And I used to get them stuck on my finger, and it'd be so painful because the clip would essentially be going down like this and squeezing on my finger. That's the type of pressure that you want from your thumb and first finger. Your thumb and your first finger are going to be working together here to play the notes. Before you even pick up the guitar, just get used to the fact that you can kind of just do this and squeeze your thumb and your first finger together. Okay, hopefully you can see that there. And when we put this to the guitar, this is going to translate with you pushing in with your thumb to the back of the guitar neck and pulling back with your first finger. So we can just go to the first fret here on the high E string, right? And what you want to do is you want to push in with your first finger and then push in with your thumb. So essentially you're squeezing the note like this, okay? And you might find if you're not doing it hard enough, you'll get this sound. And what you want to do is you want to keep squeezing until you get this sound. So we don't want this sound, we want this sound. Okay, so you want to be squeezing until you can make that sound. Okay, and a good way to practice that is just to try that on the other frets. Okay, so you can go up to the next one and do the same thing. You can go from it being nice and muted until you squeeze till it makes that note, then you do the next one. You can do all of the notes right up until fret 12 there. And that's a really good way of practicing it, just to kind of get you used to what it feels like to press these notes down on the strings. And this, I guarantee, if you've never done this before, it will hurt. And you just kind of have to persevere with it a little bit until your fingers get that strength up. Okay, so I hope you've understood how you can begin to fret notes on the guitar there. Hopefully that has been really, really useful for you. In the next lesson we're probably going to start to look at how we can begin to play more songs with our notes, and we'll understand what these frets are and all that kind of stuff. But for now I just wanted to give you a nice beginner lesson on how you could get started with the guitar and how you could begin to fret notes and understand all of this stuff, parts of the guitar, string names, all of that stuff. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that. Any questions, please leave a comment below and I'll be sure to reply as quickly as I can. Okay, take care and I'll see you again soon. Thank you for watching.